The following program is a Creative Magic Network production.
You're listening to the Frederic Ivey Show, where sky is the limit and space is the place. Here's your host, Frederic Ivey.
Alrighty, hello everybody. Welcome. Come on in, sit down, relax, put your earbuds on. This is the Frederic Ivey Show, and this radio podcast is about unleashing your creativity. We talk to experts. We step into the unknown. It is an inspirational, magical, intuitive radio podcast as we chat with charismatic, enigmas, people, artists from around the globe, musicians, singers, radio hosts, business people, photographers, everything in between. I am Frederic Ivey, the man of the hour, the man with the power. I'm too sweet to be sour. I'm funky like a monkey. I sting like to be produced sweet honey, and I am Freddy. I am your favorite French conductor, and today we are joined by one of my favorite people out there, the blind blogger. Ooh, yeah, the blind blogger. Always a fun guy to be with. Always a fun guy to be around. Let me ask you this. Do you have a business? Do you have something that you would like to do? Maybe you have a book. Maybe you're an artist. Maybe you have a novel. Maybe you just want to get more exposure, or you plan on getting more exposure for your work. This is the show for you. You know, Max, I've known Max since I started basically 2.5 years ago, approximately. And I know is one hell of a guy. Never had a problem with him. Never had a crossword, number one. And number two, I know that he's working his ass off. He's working his ass off on his brand, and he's working his ass off on the services that he provides to other people. That I can tell you. And he's going to talk about that today. And today it's really fun because he's going to talk about his biggest challenge. You're going to hear this. He says that it's the first time somebody asked him that, which I was surprised, to be honest, when I listened, when he said that. But, you know, it's the path to what we really, really want. Trust me and take it from me. It's very awkward. It's very detours. There's turns and detours and this and that, and you're learning every step of the way. You know, I'm not nearly where I plan on being, but I am getting there. You know, I'm not nearly where I plan on being yet, I say. I plan on being there, and I'm happy that you're on that journey with me. But you know, and this is what you're going to learn today with the blind blogger, with Max Ivey. He has a show on frederickby.com called What's Your Excuse? Very inspiring show. It's a short show, and he had guests on it, and now he's really transformed himself into a promoter. I mean, he can really promote other people, and to be honest, I think that's where his true gift is. But we're going to talk about that during the show, and I won't say, you know, much more about the show because I think it's a very important show. I think you will enjoy this, and as usual, he talks a lot. All right, guys, so let's get to Max Ivey right now. How are you, Max, today? How are you?
I'm doing good today. Yeah, I'm not so sure about you, Fred, because that wasn't your usual intro, and just so people know out there, this is our take two, because one of us forgot to press the record button. But hey,
yeah,
I'm kind of getting used to this whole no one around the world giving me that what is that Harvey Finkelstein introduction, man.
Oh yeah, Howard Finkelstein. Thank you for correcting me.
But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's taken me longer than I thought it was going to, but with the help of my editor, we've finally finished the editing part of the book about the New York City adventure, and we're waiting on the cover art to come back from the designer. Mm-hmm. A friend of mine in Colorado.
Right before getting into it, Max, though, for the few people out there who don't know you, for the people out there who may be listening to this for the first time, give us an idea of your background a little bit.
Okay, I am a former carnival owner turned amusement equipment broker, because after my dad died, our carnival went out of business, and I needed something to do as a way to make a living. I had to learn a bunch of new things, including how to hand code HTML, recruit clients, set fees, write ad copy, build an email list, social media, all that stuff. People said, Max, you're killing it. You're really inspiring us. You need to share more about what it is to be a blind entrepreneur. And that led to me starting a second website at theblindblogger.net, where I share life lessons. Usually they occur to me from something that's happened to me recently. That led to me writing 2 books, Leading You Out of the Darkness into the Light, a blind man's inspirational guide to success, which includes 11 actionable exercises people can work through, and they get my email address in there so they can report on their progress and have somebody who will cheer them on. The second book, It's Not the Cookie, It's the Bag, an easy-to-follow guide to weight loss success. I share about the lessons I had to learn before, during, and after having gastric surgery, as well as adjusting to the new body that I have now. I won what's one of the 2016 Amtrak Riders in Residence, which entitled me to a free trip anywhere in North America on Amtrak. I decided to go to New York City during the holidays, and the fact that I was able to go on that trip all by myself apparently is really resonating with people. So that's what my book is about. Part of the Amtrak prize is you work on some sort of a writing project. Some people it's a screenplay, some people it's poetry, some people it's fiction. Me, I tell people when bad stuff or good stuff happens to bloggers, we write about it. So my book is going to be about the New York City trip. The title is The Blind Bloggers NYC Adventures. The subtitle is How You Can Make Your Dreams Come True Too. The cover art is going to be something based on a silhouette of a guy with a cane in front of a New York City landmark, which is kind of in keeping with my first 2 books where, we generally had black, white, and gray. The big difference with this book is we're going to include a lot of the photos that people took of me and for me while I was in New York City. So the book is going to be printed in color, which is going to make it more expensive, but it's also going to make it much more interesting and engaging. And I think it's really going to tell the whole story of my trip to New York City and my time there. So that's what I've been working on there as far as that goes. Now, you also know that I am a radio rock star.
Yeah, I know that.
I get people booked on podcasts. I've done literally hundreds of interviews over 5 years now, and so now people are hiring me to get them booked on podcasts, radio shows, TV shows, YouTube channels, virtual summits, all that good stuff online, so they can share their stories and promote their stuff without having to leave their house if they don't want to. So that's what I've been doing there. I'm starting to get paying clients, which is really cool. When the money comes in on the first, second, or third of the month every month, that's really cool, man. It doesn't really even matter how much it is, as long as it comes in every month. At least that's been my recent experience.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, congratulations on your evolution. Really.
Yeah, it is definitely an evolution. In a lot of cases, these are things I never planned on doing, but opportunities came along, either good opportunities or bad ones, and they led to growth, and they led to things I didn't know I could do. I tell people I'd never planned on writing a book, much less 3, but now it seems like the new ideas for that next book come to you all the time. And back in May, I went out and did my first public speaking engagement at an event called DreamCon in Philadelphia. Again, I went solo, went on Amtrak. I ended up spending 6 weeks out on the road, had my first book signing, and that was a great experience. And I've got something like 25,000 words, which is about half of a average size book, written on that experience and the lessons I learned, or that people can learn from that trip. So while I've been trying to finish book 3, I've been working on possibly a book about, because a lot of people, they think about being speakers, or they're authors, and they're thinking about having that exciting, fun, book tour where they go out and promote their book. So I feel like those are topics people might want to read about. And of course, when the main subject, when the hero is me, the blind blogger, that always makes it interesting.
Right. Wow, and that's wow. That's you've been doing a lot of things, man. I'm very happy for you, and I can tell you're very busy. And if you start making money, man, with your whatever you're doing, more power to you. That's what it's about, giving value. It's also about you got to make an income to run a business, and to be it motivates you more too. You know what I mean? So it's
There's nothing better than finding something that you do well, that you can feel confident that you are providing a valuable service and that people want, need, and are willing to pay for.
Absolutely.
I honestly thought people would be hiring me to coach them on getting unstuck, getting out of their own way, going after their big goals and dreams. But that's not what people wanted from me. They want me to get them on shows so they can share their stories.
Right.
I tell people I've learned I am a better promoter of coaches than I am a coach of myself, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Of course not.
And it doesn't mean that at some point people won't be throwing money at me and going, "Okay, Max, how did you get from failed morbidly obese carnival owner to successful blogger, author, podcaster, all that other good stuff?"
Promoter, yeah. All right. So, and also lately, I've noticed your Twitter following has been, going up really. And I know that you've gotten a lot of opportunities because of that, because you have a secret ingredient to growing in a Twitter following. And you seem to be, you're very, very active on Twitter, unlike me. So what's been going on with that? What happened with it? What made you decide to, you're going to make it happen on Twitter, and how did it change your business?
Right. Well, I think what's been going on with Twitter, one of the first things about it is that none of us is there's not enough of any of us to really be active on 3 or 4 or 5 or 7 social media networks at the same time. We can have a presence, but to really be active, we almost have to just pick one and to a certain extent ignore the rest of them. And it seemed to me especially over the last year or so, because of watching what our elected president, Mr. Trump, did with his Twitter following, seeing the news stories about how some of the influencers like the Kardashians, like Beyonce, these people are getting $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 per tweet, per Instagram photo. It just seemed to me that as far as gaining attention and exposure for whatever it is you're doing, that Twitter seems to have been the place to be. I prefer LinkedIn over all the other networks. To me, it's the more professional, the less BS, less games, less playing around than any of the other networks. Mm-hmm. But it just seems like all the really important, influential people are on Twitter. So that's what I've been focusing on over the last year and a half or so. I reached out to many people, asking them how they improve their Twitter follower. And one of the first things they told me is go through your feed and unfollow anybody famous, because none of those people are ever going to follow you back. At least they're not going to follow you back until you also become famous or infamous. Then they'll follow you.
Really?
And yeah, unless you really care about what those people have to say, unless you're following them because they say or post stuff you really enjoy, that following them is not good for your Twitter feed. And this is the reason why, especially in your early days on Twitter. Twitter has what they call a ratio.
A what?
Depending on what you're – okay, yeah. Since Harvey, we've been having lots of trouble with our internet. Thank God we didn't lose any part of our house. We didn't get flooded out or anything, but our internet hasn't been real reliable since.
Oh, that's true. You got hit by Harvey, man. That's true. I didn't even realize it. Oh, cow.
Yeah. What does that say about me as a person that I'm so focused on all this other stuff? Oh yeah, by the way, Harvey was in town and messed up my
Yeah. Oh, but thank God you're all right. That's true. I didn't even.
Oh yeah. We had water in our yard, but we didn't get water in the house. We lost power for about 12 hours out of the whole thing. So very blessed, very thankful, because I do have many friends who lost everything. So I'm very thankful. But back to Twitter. Twitter has a ratio of following to followers. They don't want people to spam, scam, whatever word you want to use. They don't want you just, following people so you can send out a bunch of tweets or, send a bunch of direct messages. So if you're following a lot more people than you're being followed by, they will stop you from following new people.
Wow. Really?
They will also, and this is something that's my own opinion, I don't have any documentable evidence on this, but it's also my opinion that the more out of whack your ratio is, the less they will show you in search results or in those. I know you've seen them, but beside where it shows how many people you're following, how many people, your likes, your tweets, all that stuff, to the right, it'll have people it thinks you should follow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I honestly believe that your name doesn't appear in that group if you're one of these people who is following 2,000 but has 200 followers, or and one of the real hard limits with Twitter is that 2,000 followers threshold. Until you get above 2,000 people following you, they are really, really finicky about that ratio of followers to following.
Wow.
And
Until you reach 2,000?
Until you reach 2,000, they get a lot more. They're quite a bit more flexible on you adding new following once you get above 2,000. But that 2,000 is real. For some reason with Twitter, once you get to 2,000 followers, you're considered to be a more serious member of their community than anybody below 2,000. Because many times I've had that message saying, well, you need to unfollow some people or wait till more people follow you before you can follow somebody else. Once I got above 2,000, I have never gotten that message again. So 2,000, and I suggest to anybody, do whatever you have to do to get above 2,000. And if that means unfollowing everybody that will not follow you back, that you've never talked to, you've never messaged, you've never shared a post or anything for, get that number of people that you're following who aren't following you back, get that number down, because Twitter does have an algorithm, and the algorithm does pay attention to that ratio.
Wow.
And I've noticed that when my ratio is more positive, let's say, like a few weeks ago, I actually paid a friend of mine, because I didn't feel like doing it. I paid a friend of mine to go through all the people who had unfollowed me in the previous 6 months, because I hadn't done anything with it. And he removed like 3,000 people that were following me. His name's Michael Babcock. His website is yourownpay.com. And since he did that, it got down to where I was following, I want to say something like 12,000, and I had something like 18,000 followers. In the few weeks since he did that, I've picked up almost 1,800 new followers.
Wow.
So the ratio matters. I wish I had some evidence, some white paper study I could point to prove this to people, because I hate to just talk out of my butt, and that's what it sounds like I'm doing. But from my own personal experience over 5 years on Twitter, because according to Twitter, I've been on there since January 14 of 2012. So 2000, yeah. So, I'm in my 5th year. For the first 2 years, I could not get over 2,000. And then, like I said, I started listening to people. I started unfollowing people that didn't matter, and started following people. The besides the ratio, the next best thing you can do is share other people's content so that the people on their feeds see you as one of the good guys, and they'll either look at your profile, and once they look at your profile, then there's a pretty good chance they're going to follow you. You know, so sharing other people's content, just like with blog posts, you know, if you want to get a top blogger to recognize you, you share his posts, you leave comments, and eventually, you know, you send them an email and say, hey, I'd like to collaborate with you. Or I notice you do roundup posts. I want to be one of the roundup-ees. It's the same way with Twitter. You know, you share, you retweet, you like, you reply to their posts, and every time you do that, you know, people will see them. They don't see them as well as when you do it on blogs, because Twitter goes by much faster. And the more powerful, more influential somebody is, the more people they have following them, the faster it goes by. So if you really want somebody to follow you, or follow you back, then post often, share often, reply often, because like I say, the more people that are in their network, the faster whatever you do on their feed is going to go by. And that is one of the difficult things, especially for the blind blogger, is on Twitter, stuff moves so fast. Sometimes it's hard for me to notice people who are trying to get me to notice them.
Right. Of course. And the more followers you have, the harder it gets, right?
Yeah. The more followers you have, the harder it gets. And that's really a bad thing, because most bloggers, most podcasters, most people that are doing this for the right reasons, they want to see you. They really, I tell people all the time, if people knew how supportive and helpful the blogging and podcasting communities are, everybody would have a blog or a podcast or both. And so people that are doing this for the right reasons, they want to see you. Unfortunately, the bigger their following gets, the harder it is for them to do that. So, you know, you have to hit them more often, or maybe go to their profile and see if they have a website. You know, that's one of the things I love doing. I love it. If somebody follows me, or if there's somebody I'm stalking on Twitter, I love going to their website and sending them an email, or if they've got a blog, leaving a comment, because they'll see that so much better than they'll see my Twitter feed. And if they then come back to my website, right there on top of my website is my Twitter button, you know. So, but a lot of it just has to do with trying to get people to see you. And on Twitter, stuff does move really, really fast. And I'm sure that you've seen this. You know, if you look at people's profile, almost everybody's profile has a link on it. You know, with authors, it's a little harder, because a lot of times that link is to their Amazon page, not to their website. But most people, you go to their Twitter profile, there's their website. You go to their website, maybe they got a blog, maybe they got a podcast, maybe they got a Facebook page.
Right.
So, and I really have, you know, I guess what I was just saying to you just shows how focused I have been on Twitter. Just didn't really realize that I was working that hard, that I was focusing that much on Twitter. But it has, you know, it has started to pay off. As of before I got on this call with you, I checked, I'm up to 19,826 followers.
All right, guys, right before continuing this conversation with the one and only, the blind blogger, always fascinating, always fun to talk to him, I want to remind you guys of the free report that we have right now, and it's called How to Use the Magic of the Law of Attraction. And in it, you know, look, if you're interested in learning more about it, you will learn what is the law of attraction, how to attract health, wealth, and relationships, and how not to use the law of attraction, and more. You will learn a lot of things, and it's all about action, guys. You can read it in under maybe 30 minutes, you know, 30, 40 minutes, depending on how fast you read, but it's very easy, common language. It's a fun report. It's a fun, short report. And all you got to do is go to fredericby.com/purpose. That's Frederic with a C, by like babay.com/purpose. It's a limited time offer. So go ahead and get it. And I want to hear your feedback. I really want to hear your feedback. All right. Once again, we're talking with the blind blogger. He's a promoter, podcaster, author, Twitter expert, social media expert, I guess. So Twitter expert. And you can find him at theblindblogger.net. And if you want to get bookings, if you want to get scheduled, hey, reach out to him. He's very good at what he does at theblindblogger.net. Yeah, so so you reached 19,000.
And let's not forget.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to mention a couple. I just wanted to mention a couple things there before we got to your next question.
Sure.
I'm also the host of What's Your Excuse? Yeah, I'm also the host of What's Your Excuse, a show about transformation and how we become the people we end up being. And if you have a story to share, me and Frederic would both like to have you as guests. So, ain't that right, Frederic?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Always looking for new guests, people who have a story to tell. And it's always fun to talk to these people who have deep, powerful stories. It's always fun. So you can go to fredericby.com, by the way, to check out his show, What's Your Excuse with a Blind Blogger. Okay. So you as you said, you reach, 19,000, over 19,000 followers. You did that this year alone, I think. Like, 'cause you didn't have 19,000 followers at the start of the year, number one. And number two, how did that, because I think a lot of people will ask, okay, well, how is that going to help me? How is that going to help my business to have, to increase my Twitter following? What would you tell them?
Okay. When it comes to Twitter or any of your social media accounts, it really just comes down to, it comes down to what is your goal. Now, with me, my goal is to get people to visit my website, buy my books, hire me for my services. And so being on Twitter, having, 19,000 followers is getting my past blog posts, my past interviews. It's getting those seen by a whole new group of people that didn't see them at the time. And the more they see the work that I've been doing, the more credibility I have with these people. I should also mention that I use a plugin on my blog called Revive Old Posts, which will go back through my past blog posts, which include posts about radio interviews and posts about people who have been on my show. And so as all these new Twitter people come in, they see these old posts as if they're brand new posts. So What I'm doing is I'm exposing past content to a new audience by the fact that my Twitter feed is growing, and that I'm using a plugin to show them the old content, and I get new comments, new shares, and like I say, it continues to build credibility that I'm somebody that they should want to have something to do with. Mm-hmm. But the Twitter following has actually been a surprise to me in another way, because, like I said, my original goal was to grow the Twitter following so I could share my story, post my tweets, promote my books, promote speaking engagements, all that stuff for myself and for my friends and clients. But what has happened recently is that a couple of people have approached me about using my Twitter following to promote their work or their products. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those things I never figured on happening, because I honestly never thought I would be somebody that they would call an influencer. You called me that in the introduction to the show. Alex Akorji was the first one who actually told me that I was an influencer, and I'm still not sure I am, because to me, an influencer is somebody who has hundreds of thousands of followers, or who is making, six figures by driving traffic to other people's websites. It's not what I intended to be, and I'm still not sure I am one. But but in the last couple of months, the developers of a product from Israel called Orcam, which is a device you attach it to your glasses, and then it will describe things to a blind person that they point at. So like it can read street signs, bus signs, printed documents. It can even identify like cars, taxis, police cars, individuals. So it's something they were looking at. They were looking for top bloggers who happen to be visually impaired, and I was the first result that came back on Google when they started looking for somebody like that. And I honestly think that my Twitter posts, because I didn't realize this, with Google, anytime your name is associated with something, it gets indexed in Google. And I've posted over 20,000 tweets since I got on Twitter. Mm-hmm. Who knows how many, I only know that because Twitter will tell you that. Who knows how many posts I've put on Facebook and LinkedIn, blog posts, interviews, all that stuff, and it all gets indexed in Google. And, Alex Akorji, our really good friend over at the Naked Talk, she said, Max, you realize that if you Google Maxwell Ivey, you get 406,000 results in Google? I'm like, yeah, you're out of your damn mind. There's no way that's right. Mm-hmm. And then she said, if you Google the blind blogger, you get over 1 million results. And I'm like, there's no way. And she said, and she asked me, do you Google yourself? I said, no, I never Google myself. That's something crazy people do. But, she said, Max, if you're going to do what we do, every so often you need to Google yourself just to see what the trends are, just to see what the new posts are about you, to see if people are talking trash about you. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to start doing it. But the other thing is we had a guy on my show. He was the first interview I did, Michael Schwartz. He's, in my opinion, he's crazier than I am. He's out there traveling the world doing documentary film work on people that are blind or have other disabilities. And he's reached out to me last couple of weeks ago. He's like, Max, you're building this Twitter follower. I want to pay you to drive people to my traffic, to get them to come watch my videos so that they will fund my next trip. They'll help me raise the money to travel to India and Thailand, some of these other places I want to go with a film crew. And I'm like, man, that is just crazy that you would want me to do that. But he's, we came to an agreement on fees, and he sent me a bunch of pictures from his past trips yesterday and some links to work with. So any day now, I'm going to be tweeting on Twitter about Michael Schwartz, let's see, what does he call himself? The filmmaker who's losing his sight, but not his storyteller's vision. So those are just two occasions in the last, say month to 6 weeks where people are going, you are really starting to build a following, and we want to take advantage of that. And this is another example of what you mentioned earlier about how.
But Max. Yeah, but Max. My thing with Twitter is, and again, I'm not a huge Twitter. I'm a Facebook guy right now. I'm really a Facebook guy. But my thing with Twitter is, okay, I really wonder, are the people following you are really, really interested in what you have to say? You know what I mean? Like, and this is my thing with Twitter. As you said, it's so fast. It's so abundant. Like, there's so many messages. It's so fast and quick. I wonder, how can you rebuild relationships through Twitter with other professionals? Okay. But with like the audience, like the general public, that's a little hard, in my opinion.
Right. It can be a little hard with Twitter. What it comes down to is how many people that are following you are actually sharing or reposting your content. Of that 19, of that almost 20,000, I'd say maybe a couple hundred people on a regular basis will repost my content on their Twitter feed. But here's another thing that I do with my Twitter. I have my Twitter set up with permission to post to my Facebook account. So in addition to the people that are following me on Twitter, there are also however many people will see it on Facebook. When Facebook and Twitter, you have kind of like on Twitter, everybody can see it, but not everybody will.
Yeah.
On Facebook, not everybody can see it because we all know Facebook has this deal where, unless somebody is following you, unless they've clicked the follow button on your profile, what is the estimate? Something like 5% of the people that you're friends with can actually see your post because of the way Facebook operates that unless you're going to promote a post and pay Now, I understand the fees to promote a post are not very expensive as far, if you want more people to see a particular post.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand you've had great success with Facebook advertising and promoting posts.
Mm-hmm.
But it's if you think about it, Facebook and Twitter, they both have their own ways where you wonder just how many people are seeing your work for different reasons, they've got different mechanisms. In Twitter, it's the speed of the stuff moving by on the feeds. With Facebook, it's the fact that they want me to pay them for everybody that I've become friends with over the years to see my work. And in Facebook, I end up having to repost most things to a lot of the Facebook groups if I want people to see what I'm doing. It's now I will say this much about Facebook. It does seem that if you post a video to Facebook, or if you do a live video on Facebook, those seem to get seen by everybody in your Facebook community. But I don't have anything to base that on either. It's just the videos that I've posted to Facebook have gotten so many more views and so much more response than my straight posts have. But that some of that could be the fact it's video, and some of that could be the fact that Facebook is not restricting who is seeing the video.
Right,
so they both have their drawbacks. I mean, in Twitter, it's all about how many people are retweeting, how many people are following, and also how many people have notifications turned on for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do it, but I'm noticing more and more people, when you follow them or when they connect with you on Twitter, they want you to turn on notifications for them. That's not something I believe in asking for, but I'm noticing it more and more on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right.
It's if we want to talk about what the best mechanism is, the best mechanism is to use all your social media accounts to drive people to an email list. Get them on your list, then they're seeing your work. You know that they're reading it because every autoresponder, every mass email program going will tell you how many people got your message, how many people opened it, how many people clicked on something, how many people hovered over the image before they clicked on something. So we all know that every social media network has their drawbacks. People don't seem to be as active on Google Plus as they are on other networks. Facebook will hide some of your posts from a lot of your friends.
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn is generally for professional stuff, so you don't always see as much traffic over there, and group owners over there are a lot more prickly than most group owners on Facebook.
Right.
Pinterest, it's all about the images, and while I like posting to Pinterest and Instagram, I don't enjoy them as much because I can't as easily respond back to the other people's posts unless they take the time to add captions or descriptions to their images.
Mm-hmm. All right. Once again, we're talking with a blind blogger. He's a promoter, podcaster, author. He's the host of the show podcast, What's Your Excuse? And also you can find him at theblindblogger.net. He provides services. If you want to get bookings, if you want to get more exposure for whatever you're doing, your book, your podcast, your project, reach out to him at theblindblogger.net.
And that reminds me of something, Fred. We've been talking about social media, and you called me a social media expert earlier, but I don't claim to be an expert. Half the time I don't know what I'm doing. I just work my ass off every day. I keep doing the next thing. So, but the one thing the two things I do really, really, really believe in. One is email list building, which I did for the Midway Marketplace even when I didn't know what the heck list building was. And one of the best things I ever did was offering free links on the Midway Marketplace in exchange for email addresses, because before that people wouldn't return my calls or open my emails. So that the other thing I really, really believe in is podcasts and radio shows, because when we come on each other's show, when when I go on whoever's show, they have an audience that hasn't heard us before. And how many times have you dropped my website address in this show? What is it, about 4 or 5 times already? Mm-hmm. People are going to remember that. Plus, I don't think you post a video, but a lot of stuff is video now. Mm-hmm. When I do Zoom, if you look at the bottom of the screen, it'll say Maxwell Ivey, www.theblindblogger.net. Mm-hmm. So when I do a Zoom interview and they record video, my website's right there on the screen, man. So podcasts and radio shows, virtual summits, anywhere where they can see and hear your voice, where people can follow along on a conversation like we're having, where you can share your thoughts, opinions, feelings, even if people don't agree with me, even if they go, that guy didn't know what the hell he's talking about. They should have had me on the show. Well, call Fred up. He'll have you on the show, and you can tell him next week what a gas bag I am, that I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. But really, this is one of the best shots you get to get people to your website and to your email list. Right. To build those relationships and connections that you can work off of down the road. Right. And I did podcasts 5 years ago. I did my first podcast on Brian the Hammer Jackson's show when he was doing a show on small business owners. I did my first podcast because I live in the suburbs of Houston, Texas, where there is no bus service. I am a blind guy, so without bus service or trains or something, I did podcasts because it was a way for me to connect with a bunch of people without having to figure out how to leave the house. So,
yeah. Right.
But I really believe in doing these interviews. And the other thing is, even if people, I know people are listening to us, but even if they're not really paying attention, I get so much more out of doing an interview, out of having a conversation with my buddy Fred, or my new friend, Josh, last week. Because to me, every time I have a conversation, I'm making friends. I'm connected that will last from now on. In many, many, many cases, I am still in contact with people I did interviews with 3, 4, 5 years ago. And it's such an energy to having a talk, to getting on the phone or Skype or Blog Talk Radio or wherever you have the conversation. There is no discount you can put for the energy you get that you can carry through to the rest of your day. Yeah. So,
Max. So lately, as I said earlier, you've been very successful now, and you've grown a lot this year. You've done a lot of things. You've been at it for 5 years. Now, on the flip side of that, what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you building your brand?
Yeah, that's Fred, I'm going to have to give you a prize for asking a question that hasn't been asked and that I'm not sure I have an answer for. I think the biggest let's see, I think maybe 2. One is, as I've realized all these different things that I'm capable of doing, I sometimes get distracted from the things I know I need to be doing. So while I don't have the shiny object syndrome per se, because I'm still not the kind of person who's going to drop $1,000 on a course because somebody said it's the next really great course and I should take it if I want to make $1 million a year kind of thing. Yeah. But I do find myself sometimes getting distracted by jobs or projects that are interesting instead of really, really focusing hard on things that I know benefit, work, and need to be doing. Kind of like watching TV or watching a movie instead of doing the laundry kind of thing. The other thing is as you know, my growth as an entrepreneur really didn't start until I started paying attention to my health. I started by getting the sleep study and finding out I had apnea, and then getting the CPAP machine. Later, I had gastric surgery and lost a bunch of weight. I got off a bunch of prescription medicines. But in the last couple of years, I have had, some health problems. I have CLL, which is chronic lymphocytic leukemia. It's in stage 0. It's under control. At this point, all they really do is keep track of my white blood count just to make sure it stays in control. Mm-hmm. But one of the side effects, but a couple of the side effects of that are fatigue. And here lately, I've had numbness in some of the fingers of my hands. And for a guy who spends a lot of his time typing, not having full control of your hands is not a good thing. They did lots of tests, and they've determined that I have some problems with the vertebrae in my neck. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, I'm going to have surgery to correct this, and hopefully that will take care of the physical part of it for the next 20, 30, 40 years. But I would say those have been the two biggest struggles but neither of those has anything to do with creating my brand. I've been really lucky when it comes to a brand because, as you know, you've heard these stories. I didn't pick either one of my names. I started MidwayMarketplace.com, and it was people at the Go-Go Lake forum who started calling me Mr. Midway, and it stuck. I was working on, promoting the Midway Marketplace on LinkedIn, and I joined a group called Bloggers Helping Bloggers, run by Susan Cooper, who I think we both know. Excuse me. And some of the people in that group on LinkedIn started just referring to me as the blind blogger because I was the only blogger they knew who happened to be blind. And when I decided I wanted a second website, they're like, Max, we've been calling you the blind blogger for over a year now. Why don't you just see if that's available? And I did. And it turned out it's been a really good thing because I didn't realize that before I officially became the blind blogger and got blindblogger.net that I was establishing this wealth of links out there on the web under the blind blogger Max Ivey, because that's how a lot of radio shows wrote about me in the show notes, is they would write the blind blogger, or the blind whatever and Max Ivey. And so it was a good thing that when people said, hey, Max, you should be the blind blogger, it was a good thing that I didn't disagree with them. And I grabbed onto that name with both hands because it's not easy to find a name. And now, of course, I found out from Alex that name is really, really out there in the search engines already. And it is starting to pay off. It's starting to result in more people seeing my posts, whether it be on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter, or on my own website. Mm-hmm. And I really wish I could tell people how to pick a good brand name, but I don't have the first clue. I've been blessed by God or luck, depending on which way you look at it, to have two really good nicknames. Now, the one problem with the blind blogger is that as I'm doing more things, the blind blogger just really doesn't cover it all. So here lately, I've adjusted my email signature to where it now says, known around the world as the blind blogger, host of What's Your Excuse, founder of the Midway Marketplace, and so much more. And then after that, I put an exclamation point and the link to my YouTube channel. So in my email signature, there are 4 URLs. There's the blindblogger.net, there's frederickby.com, there's midwaymarketplace.com, and there's youtube.com/MaxwellIvey.
Wow.
Well, I post. I do my best to repost my shows to my blog, but until I get to the point where I post them every time, I feel like the show resides at frederickby.com, and that link should be in my email signature.
Oh, cool. Yeah, you can put it. I have no objection to it.
I didn't figure you would, but that's the one little problem with my branding is that the blind blogger really doesn't cover it all anymore, and it's actually a little bit restrictive.
Yeah, that's true. You're not just a blogger. That's true. Hey, Max, thank you so much for this interview, man. Always fun to talk to you, and I'm very happy for you, and I'm happy to know.
You mean it's over? Shoot.
What?
I said, you mean it's over?
Oh, yeah. 45 minutes.
Woo.
Went fast,
See,
man.
That's what I'm talking about, people. We've been talking for 45 minutes. It's like it was 5 minutes.
Right. You're very an easy interview because you just talk. So that's really easy.
Yeah, I know. I talk a lot. I know.
Hey man, can you remind?
I really appreciate you reaching out to me and asking me to come on the show again. I look forward to doing it again with you in the new year, and wishing you all the best, man. You deserve everything you do. You're doing a lot of great stuff yourself at frederickby.com.
Thank you. Can you remind us where we can find you?
Yeah, theblindblogger.net or on Twitter at Maxwell Ivey.
All right, cool, Max. Thank you again for appearing.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, another amazing interview with the one and only, the blind blogger. Always enjoy to talk to Max, man. Always, I'm happy that he's doing good. I'm happy that he's healthy, and I hope this provided you with a lot of insightful information about maybe your Twitter feed. Something I will have to do, to be honest, eventually. But right now I'm focusing on Facebook, and if you really are interested in that stuff, you should really reach out to him. He's a good guy. B, he's going to work his ass off for you. Again, I guarantee you that. All right, guys, time for me to ride off into the sunset. But right before I do, I just want to remind you of the free report that we have right now. It's called How to Use the Magic of the Law of Attraction. Yes, very important. It's a very important thing, right? The Law of Attraction. And if you're interested in learning more about the law of attraction, how to attract what you want, how not to use the law of attraction, it's to step into the action, getting to it, getting into it, into the action. Hey, this free report, you can read it in under 30 to 40 minutes. It's really cool. It's very short. So all you got to do is go to frederickby.com/purpose. That's Frederic with a C, by like babay.com/purpose. And the title is How to Use the Magic of the Law of Attraction. All right, guys, I'm going to go. I'm going to have to go eat. I'm going to eat some brown rice and soya beans with a lot of spices in there. But anyway, FYI for your info. I'm hungry. I'm starting to get hungry. So, all right, guys, stay safe. And don't forget, live with purpose, passion, fire, and love. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Frederic Bai Show. For more information, go to frederickby.com. That's Frederic with a C, by like bye-bye.com.